Hey guys, you keep funding me, and it's always pretty surprising. Like every time it happens, I look at the fact that I'm funded on Onision.forum and I'm like, I mean, money kind of talks, right? Like it's a little bit more aggressive than like a person saying no one will ever fund your videos. Because if someone funds your videos, it's like, I guess that's proof. And I love evidence, evidence is good. Because here's the thing, even if like evidence that establishes you're the coolest dude in the world is great, but there's also evidence that you're not the greatest either. And here's the secret. If you see evidence, and I mean real, full context, like that P. Diddy thing where he punches the chick right in front of the elevator, that's full context evidence. I mean, unless, of course, she just, drowned his puppy or something, there's pretty much the entire context there. You just don't chase people down and punch them in the face. That's kind of crazy. Anyway, that's real evidence. But the great thing is that when you see that evidence, you go, okay, this is my opportunity to accept reality, and you become a better person, right? Because then you go, okay, I don't agree with that either. That is bad. And in this context, the evidence is that somebody funded my video, and people keep funding my videos. And it's amazing. Mostly it's the same person, Caitlin. But there's other people. In this context, the person who funded my video doesn't want to be named, which either says they're afraid of like people being mad at them, or it could also mean, or otherwise mean, they're just not, really into getting credit for things. They didn't do it for credit, or they just don't care about the credit, Some people fund videos because they just think it's cool to have their name on something that, I pushed out. But today's video is going to be very boomer centric. But before I get to that, the same person who funded this video also got me gifts. And they got me gifts for the Cool Guy Kai and myself podcast as well, which we did a Cool Guy Kai podcast. It's just behind a paywall on onision.substack.com. And it's also on the Onision forums behind a paywall as well. Because, there was anxiety and whatever. But here's the shirt that they got me. Pretty cool, right? That's like, it's literally one of the most amazing shirts I've ever seen in my entire life. And I'm not the type to fluff things up. I'm a very negative person. So if I say that's the coolest shirt or one of the coolest shirts I've ever seen in my entire life, it probably actually is, which is a really refreshing thing, hearing a fact from a person who's actually giving real facts. And also, speaking of facts, The Fifth Element is one of the greatest films ever made. And part of the reason why it's one of the greatest films ever made is because it's so weird and openly cringy, and no one seems to care. Like they just go with their cringe. They're like, the future looks so dorky, and everyone's like, yeah, no, we're all about this. Anyway, so I want to say thanks for the funding of the video, and thank you for the gifts. That was very lovely. Today's Mother's Day when this is recorded, but by the time you see it, it might be 2038, and I might be even older than I am now. Who knows? But I wanted to talk about why parents separate from their kids as they age. I'm not afraid to talk about personal experience, which is, why a lot of people hate me. But I like talking about personal experience. It's something that helps me therapize and get through things. I talk about it. Okay. So something that I personally have gone through is dealing with parents who won't let me take a dump in their lawn. No, parents who they focus so much on themselves. I have one parent who went on a documentary entirely centered on comparing me to Ted Bundy types. Like, it was really weird. They're like, look at this guy. He makes jokes about killing people. And there's also Ted Bundy over here, who was a person who killed people. Do you see how they're the same? That was the summary of the documentary. But my father went on a documentary and was talking about how he doesn't do horrible things that he's accused of because the person in question who he supposedly did horrible things to didn't show signs or something like that. Like, it was some kind of like, well, she said I didn't. And it's like, well, she was also like an 8-year-old. So it's like, really, my friend. Anyway, so there's people who only think of themselves. And in the context of my father, you go on a documentary to make yourself feel better. about what was said about you publicly because, I said that someone else told me this is what you did. And then someone else told me that's what you did. And then another person told me it's a different thing to another person on top of the person. It's very gross and very unpleasant. But my father, because he's so selfish, he goes on international television and he tells everybody, I just don't know, why he is this way. And the thing with people who change stories over time, those stories typically, you know, they don't match, right? The way people lie is their stories change. Those things typically go hand in hand. So, he told an initial story as to what happened to me way back in the day, and then the story changed, and then the story changed again, and then the story changed again. Meanwhile, I always said the same thing. That's somebody who's really obsessed with themselves, but they also, in a low key way, hate themselves because they don't realize that being honest will make your life so much easier and make you not hate yourself as much. On a subconscious level, you have to hate yourself if you're lying all the time, I would assume. That, or you start balding and getting fat, or your wife starts getting really fat. I don't know, things like that. Bad stuff happens to you if you lie. So you just tell the truth. And that's the whole basis of selfishness. Like, selfishness and people who don't tell the truth seem to often go hand in hand, like with a lot of boomer parents or parents in general. They look at their kids, and it's weird that they look at them this way, but they look at their kids without selfless love. And if there's selfless love in the world, you would expect it to be with parents like the mom from Hamnet, but we're not going to talk about that because I'll cry. But the point is that when it comes to selfless love, it should be automatic the moment you start having a kid, whether you're the dad or the mom, just immediate. And I know that as your kids grow up, they tend to, a lot of times, grow away from the parent because they have a lot of hormones inside themselves when they go through puberty, and that makes them angry, or that makes them resentful, or that makes them basically start viewing you as an irritant because they're basically irritated by everything. That's how people say, oh, watch out for teenagers because they're intolerable. They hate everyone. And yeah, a lot of teenagers can be that way. But the problem is that if you are an adult and you look at teenagers for what teenagers are, you don't say, oh, they're behaving this way because they're bad. You say, oh, teenagers behave this way because they're going through a lot right now and maybe I should fuck off. Like when I was a teenager, and when I say teenager, I'm talking like 13 to 15. So when I was like 13 to 15, I was going through a lot of developmental changes, right? And adults did piss me off. If an adult came in and said, hey, blah, 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 and it irritated me, and I clearly am irritated, I would love it if that adult would just say, I'm sorry for bothering you. I'm going to go fuck off now. And I say, thank you, because I want you to fuck off. And it's not like a personal thing. This is what's crazy about a lot of households is they will have like a dad or a mom who demands respect, which is the smallest penis thing you can do. I want respect. Give me respect. Why? Because your dick is the size of a microchip? Like, you're fucking pathetic, dude. It couldn't be more obvious. A guy who's constantly trying to demand, or a woman who's constantly demanding that you give them a certain type of behavior because they're so threatened by anything that's even remotely dissenting. Small penis, loose vagina. That's probably what that is. And I'm saying it with a straight face for a reason. So you have these people who are so insecure and so self-centered that they become parents, and then you grow up going through your resenting phase because it's part of your biological imperative. You don't have any control over that. And then they blame it all on you. They say, oh, I know you're like fucking 13, 14, 15, and you're going through these horrible developments that are just atrocious. Your body's covered in acne, your oily skin, you're just miserable hormonally and all that. And I'm a grown adult, and I'm gonna totally like act like a victim and act like, you and your behavior is somehow unacceptable, even though it's beyond your control because you're 13, 14, 15, whatever. You know what I mean? So during this phase, a lot of parents, they start acting totally cunty. And what I mean by that is I've known people who have gone through that phase. Many of them went through the phase with me. And their parents became physically violent because they couldn't stand the disrespect, which is inherent in teenagers. They're going to disrespect you, dumbass. Fuck. Like, literally, 50-year-olds act like 10-year-olds all the time. And you're just like, what the fuck, man? When are you going to grow up? The whole point of being a 40-year-old or a 50-year-old is to see 13 and 14-year-olds for what they are. They're in an incubator mode. They're literally like growing mold and manifesting into something else. They're transitioning, right? And you look at them like they have some kind of debt to you, which is literally not the contract you sign when you have a kid. You know who has the debt? You have the debt to your kid. You have to take care of them until they're 18. That's what you have to do, right? Doi? So you do all these things. A lot of you guys, you do these things to teenagers where you hit them or you otherwise abuse them or you punish them ridiculously or whatever. And while they're going through this angsty, angry part of their life, they're receiving this abuse from you. And you're so selfish because you can't realize it's just something they're going through. And instead of talking, you should start listening. But they go through this phase and they remember every single time you made them feel horrible. Okay? And then you're fucking dumbass, you boomer piece of shit. You grow up forgetting all the horrible, shitty things. You go from what? You're probably 30 or 40. You go to 50 or 60. And you don't remember these shitty things you did to the fucking, your offspring. Because it wasn't a big deal to you. But it was a big deal to them. It's literally scarred, seared into their brains. So they had this resentment towards you the rest of your fucking life. And you don't even remember it. So then you do this thing where you're like, oh, you're just being dramatic. And I was trying my best. I was doing the best I could. Like, you don't know how hard it was to raise you. Blah, 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 blah. That's like blaming a baby for how much it hurt your vagina pushing them out. They can't control it. It's a natural biological process to be a piece of shit teenager. Like when you are 13, 14, 15, you're probably going to be a piece of shit. Just the way it is. Because you can't control it. It's a horrible experience for you. It's like, some people when they're PMSing, not all people, but some people when they're PMSing, periodic menstruation cycle, right? Cycle starts with a symptoms? I don't know. Cycle starts with a C. The point is that some people, when they have period cramps and so forth, they get very angry because they're in pain. That's what that means. Just in pain. Okay. Teenagers are often in pain. So they're pissed, right? And they lash out. And then you hold that against them and you act like they're terrible and it's hard work to raise them. When really you're supposed to be educated on the biological process that's going to happen with the people that live with you. So then they grow up resenting you and you don't even remember it. And then you selfishly blame them for acting like you're bad when you were bad because you don't fucking remember it. And they do. You know what I mean? That's why it's like important to have evidence in these situations. If you weren't actually bad, drop the receipts. Like if they say, oh, you used to text me, what a fucking cunt you thought I was. Okay, show me the text. Like, where did I say that? Anyway, so that's why I'm saying like a lot of relationships with parents are kind of shitty. And I talked about BPD before, but I'll talk about it again. Parents have, a lot of times, the ones that I've known, they seem to have expectations of how they want their kids to be versus how their kids actually are. They have expectations of how they want their kids to behave versus how their kids actually are. And so when their kids don't behave a certain way, they lash out at the kids, once again, acting like they don't even accept the kids for who they are. You know how shitty it is to have a parent who doesn't love you for you? I can't tell you how many times I've received an email about how I pissed someone off, because I said the wrong thing. Like, my name has been James for a very long time. 7 years? It's something like that, a while. And there's a person who keeps calling me Greg, who has known my name has been changed for 7 years, right? So at a recent event, I corrected them. I said, my name has been James for like 7 years. I got an email after that event about how dare I correct them and how they're so hurt that I told them my real name and they call me my real name. And, with these types of people, maybe the BPD type, I don't know. But with these types of people who have expectations, when you don't meet those expectations, they act like the victim and that you're a terrible person. Is it even effective to talk to them about the issue? Because if somebody is someone who's always a victim, I can sometimes be the mean one and the wrong one. But sometimes I am a victim. Sometimes you are a victim. Sometimes everyone is. But if you're always the victim, do you think that it's even appropriate for anyone to argue with you? Because they're not going to win. There's no scenario in which you're not the victim. This is why a lot of people wind up alone, with 20 cats and 10 dogs. Thank you for being the literal humane society, without the kill part. But is that how you want to wind up? Because it pays to be wrong. You know what I mean? It really does pay to be wrong. It's okay to accept that you're wrong sometimes. Because people who see you occasionally say, I'm wrong, it's not going to make them feel worse about who you are more often than not. It's going to not make them feel like, you're superior to them. It's going to make them feel like you're just a person. A lot of people will probably feel superior to you when you admit that you're wrong. But what they don't realize is that it's a strength. The moment you admit you're wrong, you're right. A lot of people can't admit when they're wrong. And that is like one of the meanest things you can do to yourself. You're fucking yourself over for all time if you never let yourself see that you got an F on the test. Because how the fuck are you ever going to pass the test if you never knew you failed? So you got to admit that the test exists and that you failed it. So eventually you can pass it. So when it comes to other human beings, and full disclosure, I'm not a fantastic socialite. I hate hanging out with people. I don't like hanging out with people. I watch television shows of people hanging out and they all look so miserable. And I'm just like, why would I want that in my life? I've had very bad experiences with people. I've done lots of nice things for people. A lot of nice things. But those people wind up fucking me over a lot of times. Like just making shit up about me. And so it's like, if you're a person who you do nice things for people and they keep making shit up about you, or they keep just like starting shit with you because you kick them out of your life, you have a problem with kicking people out of your life. And so they make shit out. It's always the people who get rejected, right? Who make shit up. They're just like, oh, I can't work here anymore. Well, you touched my butt, It's like that scene from American Beauty and Fight Club. American Beauty and Fight Club. That scene, they fire Kevin Spacey and they fire what is his name? The guy from Fight Club. Fucking Edward Norton. I think they both accused their boss of rape or sexual harassment. Or they literally both, the moment they were fired, they both immediately jumped to rape accusations. So that's how some people react to rejection, as they throw out accusations of sexual nature. And the Roman times, there was a word for this, where people would threaten to take legal action or take action to ruin someone's reputation, as out of spite, like literally just doing it because they knew it would destroy someone. It's kind of like social murderers who do it the way that the legal system just is incompetent with correcting. You know what I mean? Like right now we have a thing where, let's say your boss tried to fire you and you said, well, you're going to accuse them of rape. The legal system right now will have your back apparently significantly. Like if you get rejected and you accuse someone, the legal system's like, oh, anti-slap. It's fucking crazy because people lie. And the legal system, a lot of times likes pretending like people don't fucking lie. Even when you file a complaint, it's like literally quite, by the literal definition, taken as true. What the fuck is that? So anyone can go into the system and just go, oh, so-and-so did this. And it's like, it's taken as true. Oh, okay, so now this person has to go spend maybe $100,000 proving that you're a liar just because you say so? What the fucking batshit crazy is that? That's why so many people settle. Have you guys heard about celebrities settling in court? It's kind of a funny thing. Funny in a like, ha ha ha, Joker shooting the host on camera thing, right? Not funny at all, but like painfully dark. So celebrities, I used to think whenever you hear a celebrity settles, oh, they're a piece of shit, they're guilty. But the reality is that a lot of times they're not actually a piece of shit who's guilty. These celebrities, like maybe James Franco is, I don't know. But James Franco and a number of other celebrities have settled. And what a settlement means is, please stop making me pay hundreds of thousands of dollars to lawyers. That's what a settlement means. Because you're put in a position where you have to pay hundreds of thousands of dollars to lawyers just to defend yourself, even though you're innocent. Doesn't fucking matter, apparently. Not now, at least. You have to go through the process, right? Unless you're on contingency, which, awesome if you are. But if you're not, you have to go through this whole process. And then maybe one day you might get your legal fees back. And maybe one day you might be found to be innocent and the other person has to pay you, maybe. But a lot of people don't want to go through that whole process, especially the humiliating discovery process, right? So you have people like, I'll just say certain political individuals who keep suing people, right, for defamation. And for some reason, it's like each of these individuals doesn't know how hard lawsuits are. Because once they get to discovery, they have to sit in front of a camera for like 7 hours and talk about everything. And they also have to provide enormous amounts of documentation. They also have to take the stand and talk about it there. They have to show up to trial day after day after day. They have to lose sleep at night thinking about all the horrible things, that they've gone through or that they are going through because of the lawsuit or whatever. A lot of people contemplate suicide. It's like a terrible thing, right? So when it comes to people being rejected and them lashing out at you, the legal system's kind of crazy. And it makes sense for people to settle early on, even if it does make them look bad to settle, because it's like, do you want to lose lots of years of your life, or do you want to fight this to the death? Me personally, I like fighting things to the death because I'm a little bit loco. Like, I will fight in the legal system to death. Some people might say that's severely disturbing to battle it out when someone is wronging you in the justice system. But I say that's what happens when you believe in justice. If you believe in justice, you don't settle. You let it become your entire life and you fight to the death. Figuratively, obviously. So I want to talk about things that I've learned recently regarding making people happy. I don't think I can ever feel really good or anything like that for more than, a very brief period of time. And that's because I feel like I've seen too much, I've experienced too much, and I've been physically altered by some of the things I've gone through. So I feel like my brain is actually like permanently stuck in a state of really deep despair. A lot, not all the time, a lot. And like, people ask me, how often do you contemplate not existing, whatever, and I say all the time, because it's just something I've become used to. And I find it weird that people don't contemplate that all the time. It's weird to me because I do it all the time. I think about not existing all the time and how great that would be. But with that being said, there's something really cool about what you can do for other people that will get you points in the world. So we could, and by the way, don't take advice from me. I'm an idiot. But you could still, if you're smart, dissect what from my statements is totally true and what is just delusion. So when it comes to making people happy, I've found that something I was told in college repeatedly, something that I've read in a lot of books, is that a lot of humans like being listened to. So if you just shut the fuck up, literally try it sometime. Instead of talking, shut the fuck up and see how much more people like you. It's literally like that thing that, chauvinistic men say to women, you'd be a lot prettier, close your mouth once, that whole thing. But it applies to men too. Shut the fuck up and see what happens. When you're talking to someone, say, tell me some of the most interesting things about your childhood. And then just let them, let them talk. And you might find that the people you're talking to like you a lot fucking more. It's a crazy life hack. If you listen to me on this, I'm very certain your life will get so much less shitty. The problem is that a lot of people are fucking horrible. And that if you ever do become selfish in front of them, they'll eat you alive. So basically, the way to live life if you want people not to fucking hate you, take it from a guy who's very hated, is to not talk so much when you're in the presence of others, but rather listen as much as you can. And when you're done listening, like when they've no longer moved their mouth for, 10 seconds or so, uh, comment on what they just fucking said, not on what you're waiting to say. Comment directly on what they just said. And this sounds crazy stupid, crazy obvious, right? Why the fuck? Like everybody knows this, right? A lot of people don't. Try to talk to someone. When you talk to people, it's like they're not even in the room with you. It's like they're talking to a mirror. It really is. So you'll say something, and then they'll immediately say something that has nothing to do with the fuck you just said. So try becoming a servant to people. I know there's a lot of us who are like, fuck that, right? I am entitled. I am not going to serve anyone. A lot of people who are like that. And if you're one of them, enjoy life or whatever. I don't know. But if you're capable of that, try acting more like a butler, Talk to people, see what they have to say, listen to what they have to say, and then give feedback on what they say. Like they pay you to do it, Not even therapists can fucking do this sometimes. And they are paid to listen. But if you start doing that, you might get people to really like you. People might start saying, hey, that's a cool motherfucking guy or girl, And that's real advice. And the same goes for, this is a bit, graphic, but the same goes for sex. Stop thinking so much about, how to get off and think more what gets them going. What are they into? And you might find it's really fucking cool, Live in the moment. I once had a lady look at me like I was a freak because I lived in the moment. We were both 26 at the time, and she said that it was like, she's like, what are you doing? Because I was going so slow. And I was like, this is just how I do it. I'm going slow. I like going slow. And then, eventually building up to something. But first you go slow. And she said, normally guys just hopped on her and they had sex like bunnies and that was it. But I was going slow. I've known for a long time that when you're doing something physical with another human being, you should be present. You shouldn't be thinking about the baseball game after. You shouldn't be thinking about, baseball. I don't know, baseball. But like, you shouldn't be thinking about things that are outside the room. You should be thinking literally just about that person and what they want, watching their reactions and so forth. The same applies to conversation. It's all human shit, right? If you, and this is what's kind of great, if you focus on the person you're either making love to or you're talking to or whatever, if you focus on them and you become that servant to them, the person that you're with, and you recognize their likes, their dislikes, yada, yada, you might forget yourself entirely. And then at the end of it, you might walk away, not with happiness, not with, this blissful feeling or anything. You'll walk away with some sense of satisfaction that you truly made someone's life better. It's beautiful, right? Stop thinking about yourself for 5 fucking seconds. Think about the person you're with, and you might stop giving a fuck about whatever it was that you wanted to say. You might stop thinking that you're the center of the fucking world. And this is for all the boomer parents out there as well. If you stop thinking about your selfish, old, raggedy ass self for 5 seconds, moms and dads, and you start thinking about the perspective of your offspring, you might find that you get in a headspace where you no longer matter as much, and the person you're supposed to have unconditional love for suddenly does matter a whole lot more to you. And when they matter more, their successes become your successes. Their stories become your stories. Their wins, their good feelings, whatever, you can actually get benefit from them rather than constantly thinking about your piece of shit, no one gives a fuck, nobody self. Come the fuck on. That's one of our greatest faults, is so many people cannot feel gain or any win from other people's successes. They have to have it themselves. That's fucking crazy. We're supposed to be a society that works as a whole, works together, accomplishes things that are amazing as a team. That doesn't mean that you get a cut. It means you get to see something you care about succeed, and that's something beautiful. Anyway, thank you again for the funding. I appreciate it. Thank you for the gifts. Those are fantastic. I had this whole list, but I think I just kind of freeballed it. If you guys want another podcast, you can go fund it on Onision.forum. I'm going to go back to working on a video I've been working on for the last 2 days. Another video was funded for $70 and I wound up spending like $180 or something. Maybe a little less. I don't know. I spent a good amount of money to make this video. My funding's all messed up. So now it costs $180 for the next video. But the point is that something really big is coming out soon. It's me incorporating artificial intelligence, my voice, lots of editing, lots of music editing, lots of painful shit on my part. But the end result is going to be fucking cool. Okay? Maybe not fucking cool to you, but so fucking cool to me. I hope it's cool for you, but I can't just I can't be a butler for you in my video editing because then I gotta see your reaction. I gotta see your joy, and I don't see that. I just see me living with myself, and then I'm just doing the best I can here, guys. All right. Bye.